Tokyo has thousands of ramen shops, but which ones are actually worth your time? I went to 7 highly rated ramen shops, each with a completely different style, from classic soy sauce ramen to spicy miso and even uni tsukemen. Some of these places lived up to the hype, while others had their issues. I'll be sharing my honest thoughts on each one, including how to order, wait times, and whether I'd actually recommend them. And one of these places gave me a pretty unexpected experience, so make sure to watch until the end to find out. Of course, I couldn't cover every ramen shop in Tokyo, so if you have a favorite, drop it in the comments so others can check it out. Now let's get started. First up is Menya Mikan, a place that specializes in soy sauce ramen with a broth made by slowly simmering pork, chicken and multiple types of dried fish. I arrived at noon on a weekend and surprisingly there were only a few people in line. I was seated in 10 minutes, which is pretty rare for a high-rated ramen spot in Tokyo. The system here is simple. You buy your ticket from the vending machine, hand it to the staff, and take a seat. No English menu, but the pictures are clear so ordering shouldn't be too difficult. I went for their classic chuka soba. The broth was deep, rich and packed with umami, but still had that clean soy sauce taste. The chashu was thick, meaty and not too fatty. Super satisfying. Also, their noodles are homemade, which also gets bonus points from me. What stood out here were the condiments on the table. Of course, you have the usual stuff like pepper and vinegar, but the best one, the tsukemen. It added a really nice umami and sour kick, which I loved. They also had chunky chili oil, which gave the ramen a great extra layer of flavor. My mom ordered the sabamizu tsukemen, which means the noodles were soaked in mackerel-flavored water. It also came with mackerel flakes, and the result? A really light yet intensely flavorful dish. If you like seafood-based ramen, this is a great one to try. The crowd was mostly Japanese locals, which tells me this place is a true hidden gem. Super highly recommended. Now we're stepping things up a notch. Kikanbo in Kanda, a place known for its spicy miso ramen. It's right near Kanda Station, so it's super easy to find. But just a heads up, the system here is a bit different. There are 2 lines, one for buying your ticket and another for queuing for your seat. And it's cash only. While you're in line, the staff will ask for your spice level, which comes in 2 parts. Kara, spicy, and shibi, numbing. I went for medium on both since I usually handle spice very well. The man in front of me and the lady behind me, they both went for extra, spicy, and numbing. They were both Japanese and they looked like regulars. Now, onto the ramen. The broth itself was rich, thick, and packed with flavor, making it perfect for those who love intense, spicy ramen. The noodles, thick, chewy, and coated perfectly with the spicy broth. When I first took a bite, I thought, oh, I could have gone higher, but halfway through the heat started creeping up. That's when I realized I probably should have put on the paper apron they provided. The chashu, super thick, super tender. The crowd was about half Japanese, half tourist, which makes sense. It's famous but still retains its authenticity. Next up, I got to tag along with JP while he was shooting, which was cool because Ramen Breakbeats has a bib gourmand, meaning expectations were high. Today I had the chance to film Ramen Breakbeats. What's really good is that I got to actually film the behind the scenes of this place, so I will show you that and the ramen itself. Here, you buy your ticket from the machine and they have an English menu available. Their shoyu ramen is the most famous, but a lot of regulars prefer the salt ramen, so that's what I went for. The broth, super clear but still full of complexity. You take a sip and can instantly taste how well balanced it is. Wow, look at this clear broth! Oh my god, very nice and clear. It's light but still very rich in flavor. Wow, that is amazing. Oishii. 味が深い。さっぱりなのに深い。すごい。The noodles worked perfectly with the soup, absorbing the flavors without overpowering them. I love wonton. Oh. The highlight for me, 4 different types of chashu, each incredibly tender and full of umami.
この四角いチャーシューすごい柔らかくて美味しいですね。めちゃめちゃ美味しいです。
麺で4つあります。
4つすごい超柔らかい。
And instead of the usual bamboo shoots, they served deep fried enoki mushrooms, which added a smoky crunch that paired really well with the light broth.
すごい香ばしいですね。
I even got a quick comment from the chef.
ブレイクビーツの山瀬です。目黒でラーメン店やってます。僕の地元の九州の食材を中心にラーメンを作っております。予約制なんですけれども、美味しいラーメン提供するので、ぜひご来店ください。お店でお待ちしてます。ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。今日は本当に美味しいラーメンありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。
One cool thing about this place, you can actually make a booking, which is super rare for a ramen shop. Usually, about 40% of the crowd are tourists, but that's expected for a place with a Bib Gourmand rating. The next spot is Ramen Ayagawa in Ebisu, and I have to talk about the noodles because these were my favorite out of all the places I visited. I love chewy, bouncy noodles, and this place nails it. The system here is a bit tricky. You have to buy your ticket inside first, then queue outside. While waiting, the staff will check your ticket and ask if you want extra thick or mid to thick noodles. I went for mid to thick, which was perfect. I heard the extra thick noodles are harder to slurp, so keep that in mind if you're thinking of trying them. I arrived at 12:40, got seated at 12:55, which isn't bad at all. Also, the space inside was surprisingly big, which I liked. I ordered the Ajitama Chuka Soba, soy sauce ramen with a flavored egg. The broth was rich and savory, the noodles had that perfect chew, and the flavored egg was soft and runny inside, exactly how I liked it. Most places use young chickens, but Ayagawa uses grown chickens raised for 2 years, resulting in a broth with deeper aroma, richer umami, and more complexity. The chicken chashu also has a firmer texture, giving it a unique bite. Service was great, staff were friendly, and the crowd was mostly Japanese locals, with just a few tourists. Next up is Kagari in Ginza, a place famous for its rich, creamy chicken paitan ramen. Here, you queue first to buy your ticket inside the shop, then queue again to get inside the restaurant. Also, no cash payments, so make sure you have a card or other forms of payments ready. I arrived before opening at 11 AM, but even then, I still waited 30 minutes to get seated. Definitely a popular spot. Now, I wanted to try their chicken paitan fresh truffle ramen, which is 2,800 yen, quite luxurious for a bowl of ramen. The regular paitan ramen is 1,800 yen or 2,200 yen with side dishes. The first thing you notice is the bowl is not that big, but the broth is so rich and creamy that it actually fills you up quickly.
So dense and so truffly. Oh my god. The soup is amazing. How's your ramen? Yeah, so nice. Definitely so creamy. Definitely worth the wait.
It's a super smooth, velvety chicken broth with a deep umami flavor. The truffle ramen comes with actual truffle slices and some truffle oil. But honestly, I'm not sure if that 1,000 yen extra is worth it unless you're a hardcore truffle fan. The regular paitan ramen is already great on its own. The location itself is in a back alley, but the crowd was mostly tourists, which makes sense given its reputation and price point. Overall, it's a solid bowl, but definitely on the pricier side for ramen. This next one is a bit different. Nogizaka Ramen Maruhiko, which is known for its uni tsukemen. Now, they do serve other types of ramen like miso ramen, shoyu ramen, salt ramen, and tantamen, but let's be real. If you're coming here, you're probably getting the uni tsukemen. For those who don't know, tsukemen is a dipping style ramen. You get thick, chewy noodles served separately from the broth, and you dip them in the rich concentrated sauce. Oh, so uni. Here, the uni broth is super dense and packed with intense sea urchin flavor. It was a bit salty for my liking, but if you love uni, this is definitely a bowl you'd enjoy. The noodles were wavy and very chewy, which I personally like. You can choose from small, regular, or large portions, and I went for regular, which was just the right amount. One cool thing about this place, it's near where Nogizaka 46, a famous Japanese idol group, originated. Apparently their members visit the shop often, so the place is covered with everything Nogizaka 46. But don't worry, you don't have to be a fan to eat there. Since it's a little more niche, there was no queue when I visited at lunchtime on a weekday, though the restaurant was almost full. So if you want to try a unique take on tsukemen without waiting in line, this could be a great option. The crowd was mostly Japanese with some tourist groups. And finally, we're finishing off with Ramen Hayashi in Shibuya, probably the most famous ramen shop in that area. It's located on a small hill near Shibuya Station. Just turn left and you'll find it tucked between buildings. I arrived at 12:40 on a weekday and had to wait 30 minutes to get seated. It was pretty cold outside, so keep that in mind if you're planning to visit in winter. Here, you just wait in line, buy your ticket from the vending machine, and wait to be seated. Simple enough. Now onto the ramen. It's a soy sauce tonkotsu broth, meaning it's a mix of pork bone, chicken, and seafood flavors. And honestly, the broth was incredible. It has so much depth, you could taste each element coming together perfectly. But while the ramen itself was amazing, I have to talk about the service. When I started filming, I noticed the chef stood right in front of me, kind of just watching me. At first I wasn't sure why, so I just kept eating. But then halfway through, he finally spoke up and told me not to do anything else while eating. Hi. Now, I know this is a common rule in some ramen shops. They want customers to focus on the food and leave quickly to keep things moving. And that's fine, but the way it was handled, it felt a little unwelcoming. There were already a few signs in English and Korean explaining the rules, so if this was such a big deal, it would have been clear from the start. Just to note, because it was reaching late lunchtime, there were only 2 people waiting outside when I left. And because there are signs like this outside, I doubt they are welcoming tourists. So overall, the ramen was fantastic, but if you're looking for a place with good service and a welcoming atmosphere, this would not be it. If you don't mind just eating and leaving quickly, go for it, but I'm personally not going back. Oh, and it's cash only. So that's 7 of Tokyo's highly rated ramen shops. Some amazing, some a bit questionable. Let me know in the comments which ones you'd love to try out, or if you have a favorite ramen spot that I should check out next. And if you enjoyed this, please don't forget the like and the sub. Bye!